human as a human is when you start blossoming as a human, when you allow the best of qualities to surface, that is being a human in a human birth. In a human form you can have animal instincts, can't we? So that's why we say you're behaving like an animal, they say. So that is the lower tendencies you start expressing in a human form. Enamma? Not necessarily last Janma, but this Janma also there are certain animal instincts you have. Means rajasic qualities, indulgent qualities, very aggressive qualities. And then comes the life of a plant, which is literally you are in a coma. Extreme tamas, a vegetable state. Literally a person in coma is in a vegetable state, where there is no expression at all. And since there is no effort being put in, there is no question of exhausting your vasanas. So status quo, as somebody said, vasanas are status quo, nothing changes there, but you live a life of a dead vegetable or a plant. So it's a life completely wasted. It's like you are supposed to sleep 6 hours, 7 hours, but if you sleep 13, 14 hours, you have wasted your day of your time, isn't it?
But that patient may survive after coma.
No, he may survive, but that phase of it he is going through karma, consequences. Yeah, he is going through the consequences of his past actions. So that phase of his life are literal waste, are not fruitless actions. There is no reward out of these actions. So he is exhausting fruits of previous actions. He is exhausting the fruits of previous actions. But this current action, he is not doing anything productive, so there is no fruits of this action. So status quo, he doesn't change. You are where you are. It's like when you are in sloth, in sleep, there is no change, isn't it? You are exactly the same. So that you could perhaps say that extreme tamas, being a plant or a vegetable. So with reference to the Atman, Atman has got no interest in what's happening here. Atman has no interest in all the good you do. Atman has no interest or doesn't partake in all the atrocities you do. It has got nothing to do with it.
We had this in the second chapter.
Which one?
Atman is not that by fire or that.
The second chapter, correct, when we started there. So Atman is way above, as I have said, Brahman is above the lives you have gone by, the past, present, future births. It has got nothing to do with what you are going through. So God is responsible for what you are doing, but don't think God is accountable for what you are doing. They are two different things. God is responsible for whatever you are doing, but God is not accountable. Now what's the difference between being responsible and being accountable? How would you say the word responsible? Responsible means it happens because of God. God enlivens everything. Without the God enlivening me to speech, is enlivening my organs of action, my speech. I am speaking because of the God enlivening me. But if I speak something unbecoming, if I speak something rubbish, I can't say, oh, because of God I spoke some rubbish, I made a stupid statement, I shouldn't have commented that way. Can I blame God for that, sir? Yet I couldn't have spoken without the God enlivening. So God, so the best, one of the best understandings you can have of God. What is that God? What is Brahman? What is the best understanding you can have? Yes, so the example we take, but the Shastra's example, the electricity in the light. What is it conveying? Whether you take petrol in the car, you take electricity in the bulb, What is the significance? What is it? What is the takeaway from that example? Yes, responsible. Like petrol is responsible for the motion.
So it gives you the ability to do certain things.
Everything, not certain thing.
Yeah, the ability to do
Things.
Anyway, whether you do or not, or
How you do it?
how you do it, and the results of that is
Your karma. So what is so what do you take from that? You create, you are the architect, you are the master, you make your destiny.
So petrol put in a Maruti 800 or in a Tesla, in a the BMW or Mercedes is not the same. It's the engine that performs and not
The petrol is the same, the engines are different. See, the other side of that, one you all are talking about is the ability to make it happen. But while it is responsible, the God remains as a Sakshi. So the best descriptions of Brahman or the reality is it is a Sakshi to everything that's happening. Sakshi means a witness. So the God in you is a witness to what you are doing. He is not affected, he is above it. A Sakshi, a witness, it doesn't get involved in anything. It has got nothing to do with it, sir. Like a street lamp, like the sun above, like the electricity above our heads. It is because of it we are carrying on. Imagine we are in pitch darkness, we can't carry on our activity. So don't start attribute motives to God. God has nothing to do with it. Now if that be the case, what is the purpose of prayer then? If God has got nothing to do with your life, has no interest in its future, and if I am the architect and I am the person who is determining what my future is going to be, if God has no role in it to play, if that be, would it be safe to say that God has no direct influence in the future or the destiny I create, it's purely determined by the actions I perform, then what is the role of prayer here? You know, you all have evolved to an extent where even before I finish the question you have answers. To that extent you have evolved, sir. Sir, can you repeat the question, sir? I usually ask that people who give immediate answers. Not to challenge you, but can you repeat the question? Not the cut form, not the abridged form, I want the full form question.
If God is responsible for everything that you are doing, then what's the and is not concerned in the result of whatever happens to your action, then what's the purpose of the prayer at all?
If God is not accountable for anything that's happening in my future and is no interest,
then why do you want to have prayer?
then what's the purpose of prayer? Because in the prayer you are trying to invoke the very same God who has got no interest in your becoming. Because I can't thank you God for all what has happened to me. Can you thank God? You say, what are you saying? It's like I come and say to Sitaraman, I say, sir, thank you very much for all you have done. I am actually meeting you after 20 years. Literally so, isn't it? We are meeting each other after 20 years, last when we met a few months ago. And I come and hug him and say, sir, so lovely, thanks so much for all what you have done to me. Sir, sorry, I think you are mistaken, sir. I don't think we have been in touch for a long time. There is no direct cause and effect to it, isn't it? In reality, God is in no way influencing your destiny. Let me be very dead right, very clear. God is no way determining your destiny, because He is a neutral element. God can't be favorable to you or unfavorable to me, or vice versa. It never happens that way. So why are you planting motives to God? God is just energy. God is just that force that is enabling you to do what you wish to do, what you want to do. You just find an excuse as God, as an avenue, and thank God or blame God. You're just finding an avenue. You don't want to blame yourself for what I am. But if you, in fact, if you are a true philosopher, you will you will not attribute it to any other factor except yourself. That is being very practical Vedantin. A Vedantin will attribute whatever is happening to himself. No, I am only explaining the question so far. I have not got to the answer yet. We are still explaining the question. Means individual doing, sir. I am not meaning the absolute sense. I am responsible for what I am doing. Sir, your car meets an accident. Would you go to the petrol station and say, what is it, you gave an atrocious petrol to me? Old stock petrol you gave me, a car is, I went met with an accident. Would you blame the petrol for the accident, sir? Would you? Exactly the same way, if me blaming God for the situations and troubles I am facing in my life, what has God got to do with it?
He will be the karma phaladata.
What is that?
Whatever actions you perform, the decision of the fruit or the result is not dependent on you or your desire, but the power that is more supreme that will decide what you receive.
How do you say that? Then would you not bring down God to someone who is auditing your accounts?
He's a sakshi.
Then he is not an auditor. He is a witness. He has got nothing to do with the. He is an impartial witness. But if when you say auditing, who is auditing the accounts? You say God is auditing the accounts, and then deciding what you profit or loss statement is being given by God.
Yeah, but we can't decide that.
No, I am not saying we are deciding. I am a product of my own past actions. I mean only that. Whatever actions I have done thus far, I am responsible for the everything. My destiny is determined by my own actions. God has no role in the fruits of my action. I can't thank God, I can't blame God. See, don't mistake that I am taking God out of the equation. Huh? Because there is a chance that you will start attributing God as responsible for things. As I said, you can't make God accountable for what's happening in life. Are you saying that in any way, that God is accountable for what's happening in my life?
No, but why is it happening the way it is happening?
Why it's happening? That's not the question. Why it's happening? They say it all happens. One second. It all happens because of your own past actions. When I say past, I am not going to the previous birth. I am saying this moment backwards. Because everything is life determined by cause and effect. Now, when you say cause, who is the cause?
We alone are responsible for what we are doing.
Yes. I myself am responsible for what I am into. Yes, sir. Sorry.
Could it be separate in this whole thing that the Lord says, I know them all, but you know them not. Meaning, I know everything that's there, I am responsible for everything. But you are accountable for what is happening to you. You do not know what is the response, and you are accountable. So that is why I know everything in the past, everything is known to me. I am responsible, but you are accountable. Because a person is accountable for what he does, whereas God is responsible. You know them.
Yeah.
I know them all.
You can say that. Yeah. Yeah. If you ask like that, I have no way to say yes, The way she is asking, you can't say no to her, It's not what she said, the way she is asking with such sweet love, and your heart will melt when you listen to her, The way she is asking with that smile and that pure love she has, and she is asking the question, yes ma, whatever you say, yes, I have to agree to her, You don't have to say anything, I have agreed to you, whatever you say.
God is supposing is to meet an accident. He can
in that sense, whether what happens to etc. What happens to you depends upon your immediate action itself, etc. And that's what it is.
Then there should be a universal rule that this action should get this result. It doesn't happen that way, no Guru.
You know, it happens. It is happening exactly that way. But why it happens that we don't get the results of the committed actions? Many a time our fruits of our action is not akin to the efforts we put in. Why is there a disparity? Why is there no, not in past vasanas. It is the cumulative effect of all your past actions. It's not one action you're talking about. See, so many actions we are performing, whether you perform consciously, unconsciously, knowingly, unknowingly, ignorantly, every action has got the same effect, whether you do it knowingly or ignorantly. So, are you conscious of every action you're doing?
No.
Are you conscious of every thought also is an action? Every thought also incurs karma. Are you conscious of every thought you're entertaining? Then, what right have you got to say that I don't deserve this? Or what have I done to deserve it? It is everything is being accounted for. When we fail to understand that, then we start doubting the very law which governs life, which is the law of causation. Everything in life is governed with law of causation, cause and effect. None can escape that. So you take every action into account, then oh my God, everything I'm doing is accountable. Even at a thought level, it incurs karma. Sometimes ignorantly we are not doing what we are supposed to do. That also incurs karma. You get that? You are supposed to do certain things. So unknowingly you are incurring negative karma. Unknowingly. I didn't intend to do it. So countless actions you are performing. Who is to face the consequences of that? All of that. See, we are very particular that we don't take anything silk or leather. You know where silk comes from? Cocoon. Yeah. What is your wardrobe like? Not being personal. What journey they have gone through? I am responsible for it. Just giving you, opening up. Knowingly or unknowingly I have done that. 10,000 silkworms are burnt alive, boiled alive. Can you imagine what does it mean to be burnt or boiled alive in hot water? Just take a few drops of hot water and pour on your skin. You know what that blister means, what that pain means. You feel that. Vis-a-vis being burnt, boiled alive under constant fire to extract that silk. 10,000 at a time just to get enough silk for my silk saree.
That's why Kanchi Acharya has been advocating not to wear silk saree.
I'm glad they're doing it because in the temple sanctum sanctorum they practice it.
Kanchiloనే పట్టులు దొరుకుతాయి అందుకనే ఆయన for marriage, especially for muhurtam, please don't wear silk.
One of the condition, not condition, but when we got married, I told Vijaya not to wear silk. She doesn't wear any silk. I'm just telling where we can be conscious of, you know. How?
Like the Jains, while they are walking, they even speak the path that they walk on.
To what extent can you go? To what extent you can go? So everything is going to add on.
Jains are very conscious. They eat before sunset.
Yes, sir.
I think the question really comes home. But I'm saying, like, I'm a very pious person. I do a lot of dana, my pray to God, I do all the good things. I'm not consciously harming anybody. And yet, I suffer, for whatever reason. So the question of okay, like I'm doing all these things and yet my action is not giving me the results which are there. I think from what you're explaining about the characters, I can just see whether I understood now. It's because there's so many things that you do, you're not conscious of it. That's the thing. You think that you're done rightly, but the life is so much more complicated. Right from the birth till now, what are all the various things that you've done, we don't know.
Yeah.
We only see immediately what's in our immediate memory.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm doing these things, but what things I've done which I don't remember, I mean, they're still there. And those effects will, the effect of those is going to show in some way or the other.
Yeah, it's going to.
Straightforward, a direct function. If I do this, I'll get that.
In fact, it functions that way.
No, but we don't know the exact.
But we are not able to connect the dots.
The exact amount of
Yeah.
work
And
that
also we carry over the past birth karma.
See, that would be a little far-fetched at this juncture of your life to say it's a past birth, because whatever has to be done, it would have been exhausted in the initial phases of your birth itself. Like, for example, a child is born deformed, or is born with certain deficiencies, is born into a slums, or is born with some challenges, physical challenge or mentally challenged. You can say it's his karma. Otherwise, why you see an innocent child going through suffering? They go through that, but not thereafter. When you have performed actions, you don't go into the past. See, why we don't want to go into the past? We don't want to go to the past birth or the future birth. You know why? Yes, sir? Clarity எனக்கு நிறையா இருக்கு சார் clarity. Yes, sir? In fact, we don't go into the past or future, births especially, for the simple reason is Vedanta tells us not to operate in areas of ignorance. Why are you going into areas of ignorance? You do not know. So don't get into that. Let's operate what we know, what knowledge we have. Let's deal with that. So why do we do not know what happened? So if anybody says, I know what happened in your past birth, I know what you're going to be in the future, that fellow has got a very serious motive. He wants something from you. Beware, be careful. Be very, very careful. Otherwise, it's not possible to know what happened. It's just nothing but intelligent guess what could happen. You can sit and guess what could happen if you take everything into account and intelligently project. Okay?
Why do we pray? That's the question.
Oh, அது மறந்துட்டேன் அது. Question stands இல்லைங்களா? See, why then, what is the objective of prayer, considering God is a witness and it doesn't get involved in the, it's not accountable, it's not involved in the results of your actions, or it's not involved in the very action itself directly, but indirectly the God plays a very great role in the course of your action. See, whether your actions are performed with a sense of egoism or with a sense of humility. What guides your actions, whether your actions are driven by the impulses or the lower impulses or the higher inspirations, the higher forces. So what are the forces that are driving your actions? Like she said, God there perhaps knows that if I do that it will be wrong. In a layman's term you're saying, but there's something in you that tells you that you might do something wrong. Mansama, what is that in you that will tell you that you're doing something wrong? Conscience. So what is the conscience? No. What is the conscience? What is the conscience?
The children, that is the voice within.
You're not wrong. So it is the voice. In fact, it is the true messenger of God in you. So the God operates in you as the conscience. So if you want to attune to the divinity in you, you must try to listen to your conscience. So there is only one messenger of God. The messenger of God is conscience. And at every juncture, at every action, at every moment, you know whether you are doing the right thing or not. Even the worst of sinners knows whether he is doing right or wrong. Intuitively something tells him whether he is doing the right thing or not. And that depends on whether he has the conviction to follow what the conscience is saying, or it is the sheer power of the desires that compels him to do something wrong. The vasana takes over. But if he has conviction to follow what the conscience says, then he is a saint. But one who doesn't follow the conscience, he follows the power of your desire, he is a sinner, he has committed a sin. So whether you are a sinner or a saint, the conscience is the messenger of God. An interesting thing is, conscience is the same in all of us. It is not that the conscience is little more in Siddharaman and little less in Vaishnavi. It is the same. Conscience is the same. It never changes in its intensity. It is the same. Obviously, you have not been hearing what I said just now. But just now, what I said just now, sir? What I said just now? Conscience is the messenger of God. Messenger, na, it points constantly towards the God. It is taking you towards God. So the only entity in you, which is that spiritual element in you, is your conscience. So you need to attune your personality to the conscience to uplift yourself. There is only one savior, one rope that can pull you out of it.
It is the one that tells you what is right and wrong.
Yes.
But if that's the case, many times what is right and wrong is shaped by what you have been through.
That is conviction.
No. Okay. The word is like vedanta. You take in Africa, you have this where there is children gardens, where at the young age they are taken and trained to kill others. So they have lost their ability to think what is right or wrong, and because it is shaped by what they play, so they do not feel anything about killing others who are supposed to be enemies of society. So the word that's why you use the word consciousness, the ability to decide what is right or wrong is the determinant of what you are being exposed to, like a sociopath. He has no feeling to say what is right or wrong. That's why you have so many. So in that sense, maybe the consciously saying is not just this ability to decide right or wrong. It is much more than that. Because this right and wrong can be determined by your environment. Their conscious maybe is slightly a much higher level.
Yeah. The conscience is an aspect I did mention last week. If you remember, I said conscience is an aspect of your subtle intellect. And then your convictions are all gross intellect, which is conditioned by the inputs you give, the environment, the conditioning, the exposure. All those determine what your thinking is. But even with the thinking, the conscience is independent. It doesn't need to be molded, it doesn't need to be conditioned, it is pure and immaculate. All the conditioning doesn't touch the conscience. So if left to themselves, the problem is they have become slaves of situations and environment. They don't have the freedom to think. If they have given the freedom to think, then perhaps they'll start evaluating, am I doing the right thing? When you're being conditioned in a camp from a young age, you're not given the freedom to think. You don't have that freedom of choice. You're just being told what to do, you're just mechanically doing, blindly doing. But if you've given them a choice to examine that action and say, am I doing the right thing?
Weak intellect.
They have surrendered, they have no intellect at all. They have chosen not to think. They have become slaves.
So this action again becomes more vasanas.
Vasanas.
Can vasanas change from time to time?
They are dynamically changing. Vasanas are constantly changing. Vasanas are exhausted. New vasanas are being born. The old vasanas keep surfacing. The vasanas are doing tandava on you. They are constantly changing. So during the course of your life, you exhaust certain vasanas. But the sad part is, during the course of your life, you pick up many new vasanas also.
Good example would be Ashoka, who was fighting wars and conquering, and after the Kalinga war, totally transformed.
Not a very important issue.
Or a Buddha,
Valmiki.
Valmiki.
Okay? So the purpose of prayer is to drive to change the course of your action. Whether your actions are driven by the lower impulses or your actions are driven by the greater forces, the higher forces, the humility, or whether you're acting on the totality, whether your actions are driven for the larger good, for the higher purpose. So the purpose of prayer is to influence your mind and intellect. So prayer calms your mind, prayer subtilizes the intellect, done in right spirit, gives the right atmosphere so that your actions are more towards the divine. It's like a pleasant sound, or is a sound which is disturbing. So prayer is like a perfect ambience. It creates to your inner personality so that it brings the best. Your mind and intellect start blossoming from within. You're allowing it to blossom. So you need that environment to bring the best out of a human. The sattva guna comes when your mind and intellect are exposed to a spiritual environment. But you can't say God is done it. God is indirectly influencing. So environment or the thought of prayer influences the nature and character of your thought. And that's all prayer does. Whether you said you are being grateful or thankful. If you are not grateful or thankful, what will happen? If one is not thankful, what will happen?
Ego will
To continue to do the same thing and become worse than
arrogance will set in. Ego.
Arrogance, ego. What would happen if you are not thankful?
You commit more and more sin.
Or how do you commit more sin?
By doing
wrong
not
answer.
the right act. By not doing the right act.
I'm struggling to connect how no thankfulness or ungratefulness is responsible for committing wrong action. I don't see a direct connect.
You don't have grace of God.
Sorry, sir?
You don't have grace of God.
No, after saying all this, you still say grace of God. Look, sir, I ask you, when is there God's grace not there? When is it not there? Can you tell me? Or what can one do to increase the grace of God on us? It sounds awkward to say that as well. That's what people are marketing outside. You do this puja, you do this prayer, you do that, you do this, you will please the God and God will shower you His blessings. No, God's blessings are universal. It's always there. It is just that you are attuning to God by invoking the thought of God. See, if you play Carnatic music, there is a certain aura, it has a certain effect. You play rock music, it has a certain effect. That's about all. Whether you are invoking the thought of the Lord, it divinizes you from inside out. But that doesn't mean God in any way has influenced you. You have influenced, the thought of God has influenced you. God is just mighty, God is sitting right up there, unconcerned. Whether you help yourself or destroy yourself, He is not bothered. You help yourself, but the way thought of God or the Lord is so profound, it just not just uplifts you, it completely, you can attain moksha with it. That is the power of God. That is the power of prayer. But again, everything is self-effort. You got to, it is your own effort that is responsible. Yet you use the Lord as a pivot. You use as an instrument to uplift yourself, but God doesn't uplift you. You use God as an instrument to uplift yourself. That's what Krishna says in the Gita. Uddharet atmanatmanam, he says. You got to lift yourself by yourself, Arjuna. I can't help you, Krishna is saying. I can't help you. You got to lift yourself by yourself. So the grace of God is universal. It is ever present. The question is whether you want to help yourself or not. No God will help you if you don't help yourself. Is there any God? Please give me the address. I would knock at His door. I do nothing, oh God, please help me. God will say, you are your best help. You help yourself, I'll help you. Isn't it? I am your friend, I am your foe, He says. He said in the Gita, He says, I am your friend, I am also your foe. Means what? Sakshi. I am neutral. You destroy yourself, you uplift yourself. I have got nothing to do with it. I am there with you for that. But prayer creates an atmosphere. Now I am not bringing down prayer, I am only emphasizing the importance of effort, self-effort. You got to use prayer for your own upliftment. You got to do it.
Maybe that is the bhakti yoga form. Karma bhakti jnana. So the bhakti part of it can be the prayer, like the satsang, the bhajans, the knowledge, the shloka.
I suppose it depends on the kind of prayer you have.
It's subjective.
It could be a transactional prayer, do this for me, or it could be what you are saying. Depends
Very
on
personal, yeah, individual.
To the God.
It's a connection. So in fact, the best form of bhakti is being thankful. Being thankful. So when you go to the Lord, prayer, now you are coming to the question. When you are being thankful to God, what happens? You said your actions become right. I said I don't see a connection. Now you are saying when you go to prayer, you are expressing utter gratitude and thankfulness for what has been provided, which means you are bowing down, no doubt, grateful. But when you are grateful, what happens? And now it puts a lid on your desires and expectations and wants. So gratitude or thankfulness is to say, I have enough. When you say thank you means what? No more. It literally means no more. When you are being offered something, you said, no sir, thank you very much, I have had my full, thank you. When somebody is offering you, you say thank you means I had enough. No, thank you. So when you thank the Lord for what you have been already given, it is the lid to your greed. Satisfaction. I am very satisfied with what I have, I don't want any more, I have no more desires, I am truly contented. It is one way of conveying your appreciation for what you have been given, what have been provided for. And that is all prayer is, that's all bhakti is. So if you can invoke this feeling of gratefulness, gratitude, but today prayer is being polluted through, sorry, people are seeking in prayer, demanding, you want more and more. Whether you want emotional solace or you want some blessings or you want some material or something in return.
It's a commercial transaction.
Sadly, a commercial transaction,
The beggary.
licensed beggary.
If you
Nothing wrong with it.
you-
Huh?
This I give you.
No, I am giving you this. I am giving you this Archana. Please give me that. So it's almost, I have done this special puja. I want that. I am doing this. I am doing that. So it's kind of a.
They also quote appropriate words from scripture saying, "You seek, I give."
Who says that? No, I don't know what you are referring to. Christ says, "He that knoweth his self shall lose it." Knoweth. Knoweth. He that knoweth his self shall lose it. One minute. He that knoweth his self shall lose it. He that loseth his self for my sake shall gain it. Write down. I'll repeat slowly. He वैष्णवी बोर्ड में रास्ता होना ना रबजे से रास्ते come no problem, you will also come in the camera. Is it going? Erase it, no problem. Yeah, he that knoweth, knoweth, correct? He that knoweth his self, knoweth, so you can write in small, you need to write capital. Okay, he that knoweth his self, SELF, shall lose it. Full stop. He that loseth his self, he that LOSETH, he that loseth his self for my sake shall gain it. Inward commerce. Thank you, Rana.
Beautiful handwriting. Thank you.
Thank you, Rana. Now, what do you make sense of it? In fact, you can say knoweth or findeth. Same thing. He that findeth his self shall lose it. He that loseth his self for my sake shall find it. Outstanding. Pure is Upanishad. Upanishadic stuff is talking. Namaste. చెప్పండి మానసమ్మ, ఏం చెప్పండి ఇది? Tata, any idea? Solunga, what does it mean? Very beautiful.
Yeah.
See, he that findeth his self shall lose it. He that finds, he's searching for contentment and satisfaction in the world. He believes he's acquired all the world has to give. He that findeth his self means he has found success in the world, he is lost in the material world. He that findeth his self in the world, in a sense, has lost it. He has no cognition of the self. He that loseth his self for my sake means he has surrendered all his worldly pursuits, he has given up the lower for my sake, shall find realization, shall gain it. So the question is whether you are content with the worldly pursuits or you want to renounce the lower for the higher. One who is content with the lower, he has lost it. He that findeth, he has got all the success the world can give him. He that findeth his self has lost it. He has not found it, he has lost his self. So if you want to get to self, you must completely surrender, give up all your worldly desires. You got to forget yourself, get lost, loseth. He is putting it in his own language. This is a lifetime pursuit. You got to give up, renounce everything for the thought of self. Then you will get it. You want to gain everything else in the world and yet also want to gain the self, he says you lost it. What can you renounce to gain the self is the question. For that you got to lose yourself for my sake, means you must be a true ambassador of God. You must be truly living in His grace, in His Leela, in His thought, in His work. Everything you do must be His work, for His attainment. You must dedicate everything for that. Then there is a chance of
Cake and tea.
sorry,
You can't have cake and tea.
you can't have both the cake and another egga.
Can't have it later.
This is joking. Very true. So you got to sacrifice some for the other. Okay. I truly wanted to do a few verses today, but
Today outstanding
no. No, but the subject matter, good interaction we had, fan of, no harm, no need to rush. Yes, Ma, you're saying something? Yeah, we'll not rush, absolutely not. Okay. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.